The vast expanse of space stretched endlessly before the crew of Odyssey Dawn, humanity's first deep space exploration vessel. For months, they had journeyed farther than any human-made craft in history, venturing into uncharted regions of the cosmos. Their mission was clear: to seek out new worlds, uncover signs of extraterrestrial life, and push the boundaries of what humanity thought possible. But as their ship drifted through the void, an ominous hum filled the air, a sound none of them recognized. It wasn't mechanical failure, it was something far stranger. Alex Carter stood at his workstation in the engineering bay, his fingers dancing over holographic panels as he monitored the ship's systems. He was a man of precision, preferring the predictable logic of machines to the unpredictable nature of people. At 32, Alex had spent most of his life solving problems others deemed unsolvable. Yet nothing could have prepared him for what came next. Without warning, a blinding pulse of energy erupted from a nearby nebula, striking the ship with devastating force. Alarms blared throughout the vessel as lights flickered and consoles sparked. "We've lost primary power," shouted Commander Elena Vega, her voice cutting through the chaos. "All hands, brace for impact." Moments later, the ship shuddered violently as its engines failed, sending it hurtling toward an unknown planet below. Through the viewport, Alex caught glimpses of the surface, a harsh landscape of jagged mountains and endless deserts. As gravity pulled them closer, panic surged among the crew. Somehow, against all odds, the ship managed to slow just enough to avoid complete destruction upon landing. When the dust settled, silence enveloped the cabin. Broken equipment littered the floor, and the faint smell of burnt circuits lingered in the air. One by one, the crew members emerged from their stations, shaken but alive. "We're down," muttered Dr. Priya Patel, the ship's biologist, clutching a medical kit. Her face was pale, but her voice steadied quickly. "Is everyone okay?" Alex nodded grimly, though his mind raced. They were stranded on an alien world with no way to contact Earth. Worse still, their oxygen reserves were critically low. If they didn't find help soon, survival would become impossible. As the crew assessed the damage outside, strange lights appeared on the horizon. Bright, pulsating orbs that seemed to defy the laws of physics. At first, Alex thought they might be atmospheric phenomena. But then the lights began moving toward them. Within minutes, sleek ships descended from the sky, encircling the wreckage like predators stalking prey. Tension gripped the group as hatches opened on the largest ship, revealing figures clad in shimmering armor. Their forms were humanoid yet distinctly alien, with elongated limbs and glowing eyes that radiated intelligence. Leading them was a woman, or at least someone who resembled one. She stepped forward gracefully, her presence commanding attention. Her skin shimmered like liquid silver under the planet's dim light, and her long hair flowed as if carried by an invisible breeze. Around her neck hung a pendant shaped like a starburst, pulsing softly with golden light. This was no ordinary being. She exuded authority and wisdom beyond comprehension. "I am Liria," she said, her voice resonating with a melodic quality that transcended language barriers. "You are not alone here." Relief washed over the crew, but Alex remained cautious. Why had these aliens come now? What did they want? Before he could voice his concerns, Liria approached him directly, her gaze piercing. "You carry something within you," she said cryptically. "A thread connecting your kind to ours." Before Alex could respond, Liria raised her hand, and a wave of warmth spread through the area. Damaged systems aboard the ship roared back to life, restoring power to critical functions. Oxygen levels stabilized, giving the crew a fighting chance. But this act of kindness came with a price. As Liria turned to leave, she addressed Alex once more. "You will understand soon enough," she said, her tone tinged with sadness. "And when you do, I will need your help." With that, the alien ships ascended into the sky, disappearing as quickly as they had arrived. The crew stared after them in awe, unsure whether to feel grateful or wary. For Alex, however, the encounter left a lingering unease. Whatever Liria meant by her words, he knew one thing for certain. Their fates were now intertwined, and his role in this unfolding mystery was only beginning. The alien ships had vanished as swiftly as they'd arrived, leaving behind a crew both relieved and bewildered. For Alex Carter, however, the encounter with Liria lingered like an unanswered question gnawing at the edges of his mind. Her words, "You carry something within you," echoed in his thoughts, refusing to fade. What did she mean by that? And why had she singled him out when there were others just as capable, or more so, on board? Commander Vega called for a meeting in the makeshift command center they'd set up inside the damaged ship. Everyone gathered around a holographic display, their faces etched with exhaustion but also determination. "We owe our lives to those aliens," Vega began, her tone firm yet tinged with gratitude. "But we need answers. Who are they? Why did they save us? And what do they want from us?" Alex listened quietly, his fingers tapping against his knee, a nervous habit he couldn't shake. When Vega turned to him, asking if he had anything to add, he hesitated. He didn't know how to explain Liria's cryptic comments without sounding paranoid or irrational. Instead, he simply shrugged. "I don't think we're going to figure this out sitting here," he said finally. "If they wanted something from us, they'll come back." He was right, but not in the way anyone expected. That night, as Alex worked alone in the engineering bay, trying to repair some of the ship's secondary systems, a soft hum filled the air. It wasn't mechanical. It felt alive, almost sentient. Startled, Alex turned toward the source of the sound and found himself face to face with Liria once again. She stood in the doorway, her shimmering form bathed in faint golden light. "How did you get in here?" Alex demanded, instinctively stepping back. His heart pounded, part fear and part awe. "I am not bound by your physical barriers," Liria replied calmly. Her voice carried no malice, only quiet authority. "And I have come because time is short, for all of us." Alex frowned, his skepticism flaring. "Time? What are you talking about?" Liria stepped closer, her glowing eyes locking onto his. "Centuries ago, one of your ancestors traveled beyond the boundaries of your world, not just into space, but into dimensions unknown to your kind. In doing so, they disrupted the natural flow of events in my people's timeline. The consequences of their actions ripple even now, threatening to unravel everything." Alex stared at her, struggling to process what she was saying. "You're telling me someone from Earth messed up your history? How is that even possible?" "It is possible," Liria said simply. "Your ancestor stumbled upon a moment pivotal to the Valeri, the turning point where our civilization chose its path. Their interference altered the course of events, creating instability across multiple timelines. Now, the fractures grow worse with each passing cycle." Alex shook his head, still skeptical. "Okay, let's say I believe you. What does any of this have to do with me?" Liria's expression softened slightly, though her gaze remained unwavering. "You share genetic markers with the individual responsible for this disruption. Because of this connection, you possess a unique resonance with the temporal fabric. You are the only one who can undo the damage." The weight of her words hit Alex like a punch to the gut. "Wait, wait," he stammered. "You're asking me to go back in time, to fix something I didn't even cause? That's insane." "It is necessary," Liria countered. "If the fractures continue unchecked, entire civilizations, including yours, will cease to exist. Your presence here is no coincidence. Alex, fate has brought us together for this purpose." Alex ran a hand through his hair, feeling overwhelmed. This wasn't just about saving lives anymore. It was about rewriting history itself. The idea terrified him. "Even if I wanted to help, which I'm not saying I do, I wouldn't know where to start. Time travel, fixing timelines. I'm just an engineer." "You will not be alone," Liria assured him. "My people will guide you, teach you how to navigate the temporal currents. But you must decide quickly. Every moment we delay brings us closer to catastrophe." For hours, Alex wrestled with the decision. On one hand, the thought of tampering with time felt reckless, bordering on hubristic. On the other hand, the stakes were unimaginably high. If Liria was telling the truth, and despite his doubts, he couldn't ignore the evidence, then refusing to act would doom billions of lives. Finally, he made his choice. "Fine," Alex said, looking Liria straight in the eye. "I'll do it. But on one condition: if I succeed, you promise to protect Earth. No matter what happens, humanity gets a future." Liria studied him for a long moment before nodding solemnly. "You have my word. If you restore balance, your world will endure." With that agreement sealed, Alex followed Liria aboard her crystalline ship. As they ascended into the stars, leaving the wreckage of Odyssey Dawn far below, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that he was stepping into something far greater than himself. Whatever lay ahead, he knew one thing for certain: nothing would ever be the same again. Aboard Liria's crystalline ship, Alex Carter found himself in a world unlike anything he'd ever imagined. The interior was a blend of elegance and technology, with walls that shimmered like liquid glass and holographic displays floating freely in the air. Yet despite its beauty, there was an undeniable sense of purpose here. This was no ordinary vessel. It was a gateway to mastery over time itself. Liria introduced Alex to Kale, her trusted advisor, and one of the Valeri's most skilled temporal navigators. Tall and imposing, Kale carried an air of quiet authority, his eyes sharp but kind. Unlike Liria's ethereal presence, Kale seemed grounded, practical, a perfect counterbalance to her visionary leadership. Together, they would guide Alex through the rigorous training required for his mission. "The temporal rift is not merely a place," Kale explained as he led Alex into a chamber filled with swirling lights and shifting patterns. "It is a living entity, constantly evolving and adapting. To navigate it, you must learn to see beyond linear time, to understand how moments connect and influence each other." Alex nodded, though his mind raced with questions. How could anyone comprehend something so vast and complex? He wasn't a scientist or a philosopher. He fixed broken machines. But Liria had faith in him, and now Kale did too. That alone spurred him to try. The first trial began almost immediately. Stepping onto a platform surrounded by glowing rooms, Alex felt a strange sensation wash over him, a mix of weightlessness and dizziness, as if reality itself were bending around him. Before he could react, the room dissolved into a kaleidoscope of images, fragments of past, present, and future colliding in chaotic harmony. "Focus," Kale instructed, his voice steady despite the turbulence. "Find your anchor, the moment that feels most real to you." Alex closed his eyes, concentrating on the sound of his own breathing. Slowly, the chaos began to settle, revealing a single scene: a bustling marketplace on an alien planet. People moved about their daily lives, unaware of his presence. This was his first task, to observe without interfering. But observation proved harder than expected. As Alex watched, he noticed a child wandering dangerously close to a speeding hovercart. Instinctively, he reached out to pull the child away, but froze mid-motion. Saving the child might save a life, but what ripple effects would it create? Would altering this moment disrupt someone else's future? Kale appeared beside him, nodding approvingly. "Good. You hesitated. Acting impulsively in the temporal rift can have catastrophic consequences. Every choice matters, not just for those involved, but for countless others connected across time." Over the next few days, Alex faced increasingly difficult challenges. In one trial, he witnessed a fire breaking out in a crowded building. Again, he struggled with whether to intervene. Should he risk saving a few individuals at the cost of destabilizing the timeline further? Each decision weighed heavily on him, forcing him to confront his own values and fears. Through it all, Liria remained nearby, watching silently as Alex grappled with these moral dilemmas. Though she rarely spoke during the trials, her presence offered a strange comfort. After one particularly harrowing session, where Alex failed to prevent a disaster due to hesitation, Liria approached him. "You doubt yourself," she said softly, her luminous eyes meeting his. "But doubt is natural when facing such immense responsibility. Remember, Alex, perfection is not required. Only courage." Her words struck a chord within him. Courage, that was something he understood. Despite his reservations, Alex realized he couldn't let fear dictate his actions. If he was going to succeed, he needed to trust both himself and the guidance of the Velari. As the training progressed, Alex began to notice subtle changes in his perception. Moments that once seemed disjointed started making sense, like pieces of a puzzle falling into place. He learned to identify key events, the turning points where small actions could yield significant outcomes. More importantly, he discovered a newfound confidence in his ability to navigate the complexities of time. Yet, beneath this growing competence lay lingering tension. While Alex appreciated Cal's mentorship and Lyria's encouragement, their expectations often clashed with his doubts. They believed he was ready for the mission, but Alex couldn't shake the feeling that he was walking into the unknown blindfolded. What if he made a mistake? What if he couldn't undo the damage caused centuries ago? These thoughts haunted him late at night as he lay awake staring at the shimmering ceiling of his quarters. One evening, unable to sleep, he wandered to the ship's observation deck. There, gazing out at the endless expanse of stars, he found Liria standing quietly, lost in thought. "I used to think I knew everything," Alex admitted after a moment of silence. "That if I worked hard enough, I could solve any problem. But this is different. It's bigger than me." Liria turned to him, her expression softening. "You are not alone, Alex. We stand with you, not just because we need your help, but because you remind us of hope. Even in uncertainty, you keep moving forward." Her words stayed with him long after they parted ways. For the first time since beginning his journey, Alex allowed himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, he truly was capable of doing what needed to be done. With renewed determination, he prepared for the final stages of training. The temporal rift awaited, and though the road ahead was fraught with danger, Alex knew one thing for certain. He wouldn't face it unprepared. The day had finally arrived. After weeks of grueling training, Alex Carter stood at the threshold of the temporal rift, a swirling vortex of light and shadow that pulsed with an energy both mesmerizing and terrifying. It was time to put everything he'd learned into practice, to step beyond the safety of Lyria's ship and into the chaotic currents of time itself. Yet, as much as Alex tried to steel himself for what lay ahead, a knot of fear tightened in his chest. Cal adjusted the neural interface attached to Alex's temple, ensuring the connection between him and Liria would remain intact during the journey. "Remember," Cal said, his voice calm but firm, "the rift is unpredictable. Trust your instincts, but do not let emotion cloud your judgment." Alex nodded, though his mind raced with questions. What if he failed? What if the timeline rejected him altogether? He glanced at Liria, who stood nearby, her luminous eyes filled with quiet resolve. She offered him a small, encouraging smile. "You are ready, Alex," she said softly. "Trust yourself, and trust us." Taking a deep breath, Alex stepped forward. As soon as he crossed the threshold, the world around him dissolved into chaos. Colors blurred together, sounds warped and distorted, and the very fabric of reality seemed to stretch and twist like liquid. For a moment, panic threatened to overwhelm him. But then he remembered Cal's advice. Focus. Find your anchor. Closing his eyes, Alex concentrated on the steady rhythm of his breathing. Slowly, the turbulence began to subside, revealing fragments of moments scattered across time. Scenes flickered before him, ancient civilizations rising and falling, wars fought under alien skies, and human ancestors navigating uncharted lands. Each fragment shimmered with potential, waiting to be understood and shaped. Guided by Liria's voice through the neural link, Alex navigated toward the pivotal moment, the day centuries ago when his ancestor had unknowingly disrupted the Valeri timeline. The closer he got, the more vivid the images became. Finally, he emerged into a bustling cityscape unlike anything he'd ever seen. Towering crystalline structures reached toward a sky painted in hues of gold and violet, while beings of various species moved about their daily lives. This was the Valeri homeworld, or rather, its past iteration. Alex's mission was clear: locate his ancestor, prevent the interaction that caused the disruption, and restore balance to the timeline. Disguised in a holographic projection designed by Kale to blend in with the era, Alex wandered through the streets, searching for any sign of his target. It didn't take long. In a marketplace filled with traders and merchants, Alex spotted a figure who stood out, not because they looked different, but because they carried an unmistakable air of curiosity. His ancestor, a young man named Elias Carter, was examining a strange artifact displayed by a Valeri vendor. The object glowed faintly, emitting pulses of energy that seemed to resonate with the surrounding environment. Elias leaned closer, clearly fascinated. "What does it do?" he asked, his voice tinged with wonder. The vendor hesitated, glancing nervously at the artifact. "It is not meant for outsiders," they replied cryptically. Alex knew this was the moment, the point where Elias's actions would alter the course of history. If Elias touched the artifact, it would trigger a chain reaction that destabilized the Valeri timeline. But how could Alex stop him without drawing attention or causing further disruption? As he approached cautiously, flashes of alternate realities began to intrude on his consciousness, visions of what might happen if he succeeded or failed. In one scenario, he managed to snatch the artifact away just in time, restoring balance to the timeline. In another, Elias defied him, leading to catastrophic consequences. Worst of all, some visions showed Alex himself perishing in the attempt, leaving the mission unfinished. The conflicting possibilities left Alex disoriented, struggling to distinguish reality from illusion. Just as despair threatened to consume him, Liria's voice broke through the haze. "Alex, focus. You are stronger than these distractions. Trust in what you've learned." Her words steadied him, grounding him in the present. Pushing aside the visions, Alex moved quickly, positioning himself near Elias. When the young man reached for the artifact, Alex intercepted him, creating a diversion by knocking over a nearby display of goods. "What are you doing?" Elias exclaimed, startled. "Saving you from making a mistake," Alex muttered under his breath, grabbing the artifact before Elias could react. But nothing went according to plan. The vendor shouted angrily, drawing the attention of nearby guards. Chaos erupted as Alex tried to retreat, clutching the artifact tightly. Energy surged around him, destabilizing the immediate area. Realizing he couldn't escape without risking greater harm, Alex made a split-second decision, severing the neural link with Liria, a move that would leave him isolated in the fractured timeline. He hurled the artifact into a containment field provided by Cal's technology. A wave of energy engulfed him, pulling him away from the scene and into the swirling currents of the rift once more. When the turbulence subsided, Alex found himself alone, adrift in a sea of fragmented moments. Exhausted and overwhelmed, he wondered if he had truly succeeded, or if his actions had only made things worse. Far away, aboard her ship, Liria felt the severance of their connection. Her heart sank, but she refused to give up hope. "He's still out there," she whispered to Kale. "We'll find him." And somewhere in the vast expanse of time, Alex clung to the belief that his journey wasn't over yet. The temporal rift was a labyrinth of shifting moments, each fragment whispering secrets from the past, present, and future. For Alex Carter, adrift in its chaotic currents after severing the neural link with Liria, every second felt like an eternity. The artifact he had thrown into the containment field had stabilized. For now, but the cost of his decision weighed heavily on him. Without the link, he was alone, cut off from guidance, support, and the one person who had come to mean more to him than he cared to admit. Yet, even amidst the disorienting swirl of time, Alex refused to give up. He clung to the lessons Kel had drilled into him during their training. Focus, adapt, survive. Drawing on those principles, he began piecing together fragments of the timeline around him, searching for a way back to the moment when everything had gone wrong. If he could return to the marketplace, before the guards arrived, before chaos erupted, he might still have a chance to fix things without causing further damage. As he navigated the rift, Alex encountered echoes of himself, alternate versions scattered across different timelines. Some were triumphant, standing tall as heroes who had saved countless lives. Others were broken, hollowed out by failure or consumed by regret. These visions taunted him, forcing him to confront his deepest fears. What if he wasn't strong enough? What if all his efforts only made things worse? But among the shadows, there was also light. A faint golden thread seemed to weave through the fragments, guiding him forward. It reminded him of Liria, the warmth of her presence, the unwavering belief she had shown in him. Though he couldn't hear her voice anymore, he felt her influence in that thread, pulling him toward hope instead of despair. Finally, after what felt like hours, or perhaps days, time itself was meaningless here. Alex found himself back in the marketplace. This time, however, he arrived moments earlier, giving him a crucial advantage. The scene unfolded exactly as it had before. Elias Carter approached the vendor's stall, curiosity gleaming in his eyes as he examined the glowing artifact. Alex knew what he had to do. Approaching cautiously, he positioned himself close enough to intervene, but far enough to avoid drawing attention. When Elias reached for the artifact, Alex stepped in, placing a hand firmly on his shoulder. "Don't touch it," Alex said firmly, his voice low but commanding. Elias turned, startled. "Who are you?" he demanded, his expression wary. "I'm someone who knows what happens if you take that thing," Alex replied, choosing his words carefully. "Trust me, you don't want to find out." For a moment, Elias hesitated, clearly torn between skepticism and instinct. Then, glancing at the intensity in Alex's eyes, he nodded slowly and stepped away. Relieved but wary, Alex turned to the vendor. "This artifact is dangerous," he explained, injecting urgency into his tone. "It needs to be secured immediately." The vendor hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. With quick, practiced movements, they deactivated the artifact and placed it inside a protective casing. As the energy pulses faded, the air around them grew still, calm. But Alex wasn't finished yet. To ensure the timeline remained stable, he needed to erase any trace of his interference. Using knowledge gleaned from Cal's teachings, he subtly altered minor details in the surrounding environment. Nudging a trader's cart slightly off course, rearranging items on a nearby display, creating plausible explanations for why nothing unusual had occurred. When the changes settled into place, Alex felt a subtle shift, a sense of balance returning to the timeline. Yet even as success washed over him, a deeper sacrifice loomed. By completing his mission, he had effectively erased his connection to this moment. No one, not even Elias, would remember him being there. And without the neural link, reuniting with Liria and the others seemed impossible. Exhausted but resolute, Alex prepared to leave the marketplace behind. Just as he turned to step back into the rift, a familiar sensation washed over him, a warm, golden glow that filled him with reassurance. Through the haze of fragmented moments, he heard Liria's voice once more. "You did it, Alex," she whispered, her tone filled with pride and gratitude. "Now, let us bring you home." Before he could respond, a portal shimmered into existence before him. Stepping through, Alex emerged aboard Liria's ship, greeted by the sight of Cal and Liria waiting anxiously. Relief flooded their faces as they rushed to his side. "You severed the link," Liria said softly, her eyes searching his. You sacrificed so much to protect us. And yourself. It was the only way, Alex replied, his voice hoarse but steady. I couldn't risk losing control again. Liria reached out, placing a hand gently on his shoulder. You may have been alone in the rift, but you were never truly alone. We will always stand with you, Alex. Kale nodded in agreement, offering a rare smile. Your actions have restored stability, not just for our people, but for yours as well. You've earned your place among the guardians of time. As Alex absorbed their words, a profound sense of peace settled over him. Though scars of doubt and fear lingered, he knew he had done something extraordinary. Together, they had faced the unimaginable and prevailed. Looking at Liria, Alex allowed himself a small, hopeful smile. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he would face them alongside her. After all, their bond transcended time itself. When Alex Carter returned to Earth, it was a world both familiar and strange. The journey through time had left its mark, not just on him, but on the fabric of reality itself. As he stepped off the small shuttle provided by Liria's ship, he gazed at the horizon with a mix of awe and disbelief. Gone were the polluted skies and barren landscapes he remembered from before their mission. In their place stood lush green forests, clean rivers winding through vibrant cities, and a sense of harmony that seemed almost too perfect to be real. The changes weren't limited to nature. News reports spoke of unprecedented advancements in technology, medicine, and energy, all attributed to mysterious benefactors who shared knowledge without asking for anything in return. Some speculated about extraterrestrial involvement, citing sightings of unidentified craft near Earth's orbit. Others dismissed these claims as conspiracy theories, but Alex knew better. This was the ripple effect of his actions, the repaired timeline spreading hope and progress across humanity's future. Yet, despite the beauty around him, Alex felt an emptiness gnawing at his soul. He had saved countless lives, restored balance to multiple timelines, and fulfilled his promise to Liria. But at what cost? His connection to her, and the Valeri, felt distant now, like echoes fading into silence. Though she had assured him they would meet again, part of him feared she might already have moved on. Days turned into weeks as Alex tried to settle back into life on Earth. He resumed working as an engineer, helping design sustainable systems for communities rebuilding after years of environmental neglect. Yet no matter how fulfilling his work became, he couldn't shake the feeling that something, or someone, was missing. One evening, while tinkering with a prototype device in his workshop, Alex noticed something unusual on his computer screen. A series of encrypted symbols flickered briefly before vanishing, replaced by a single line of text: "Follow the light." At first, he thought it was a glitch or some kind of prank. But when the message repeated itself several times over the next few hours, accompanied by faint pulses of golden light emanating from his monitor, Alex realized this wasn't random. It was a message from Liria. Driven by instinct, Alex packed a few essentials and set out toward the coordinates embedded within the transmission. They led him deep into a remote desert, far from civilization. Under the pale glow of the moon, he found himself standing before a shimmering portal, a miniature version of the temporal rift. Its edges pulsed softly, inviting yet enigmatic. Without hesitation, Alex stepped through. On the other side, he emerged into a breathtaking expanse, unlike anything he'd ever seen. Towering crystalline structures stretched toward a sky alive with shifting colors, while streams of liquid light flowed like rivers across the landscape. This was the heart of the Valeri domain, a realm untouched by time's chaos, preserved in eternal grace. And there, waiting for him, was Liria. Her presence radiated warmth and strength, her silver skin glowing brighter than ever under the multicolored sky. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, breaking into a smile, Liria closed the distance between them and embraced him tightly. "You came," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "I wasn't sure if you would. I promised I'd see this through," Alex replied, holding her close. "Besides, I couldn't leave you behind, not after everything we've been through." Liria pulled back slightly, her luminous eyes searching his face. "You sacrificed so much for us, for both our peoples. Do you regret it?" Alex shook his head. "Not for a second. Sure, it wasn't easy, and yeah, I doubted myself more times than I can count. But seeing what we've accomplished, knowing we've given people a chance at a better future, that makes it all worth it." Liria smiled, her expression softening. "You've changed, Alex. You carry the weight of time within you now, not as a burden, but as a gift. Together, we can ensure this new dawn lasts forever." Over the following days, Alex learned more about the coalition Liria had begun forming, a union of humans and Velari dedicated to safeguarding the multiverse. Their goal was simple yet monumental: to monitor temporal stability, prevent disruptions, and foster cooperation between species across dimensions. Kale joined them frequently, sharing updates on the coalition's progress. "We're recruiting others like you," he explained one evening as they stood overlooking the crystalline cityscape. "Individuals whose unique resonance with the temporal fabric allows them to navigate its currents. With your help, we'll build a network of guardians capable of protecting countless timelines." Alex nodded, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. Though the challenges ahead were immense, he knew he wouldn't face them alone. Together with Liria, Kale, and the growing ranks of allies, he could forge a legacy that transcended lifetimes. As the sun rose over the alien horizon, casting golden rays across the land, Alex took Liria's hand in his. Side by side, they gazed out at the infinite possibilities stretching before them. Whatever mysteries lay hidden in the folds of time, whatever dangers awaited beyond the next rift, they would face them together. For the first time in what felt like ages, Alex felt truly at peace. The sacrifices, the struggles, the moments of doubt, they had all led him here, to a new beginning, to a brighter tomorrow. The coalition grew stronger with each passing day, its roots spreading across dimensions like the branches of an ancient tree. Under Liria's leadership and Alex's ingenuity, humanity and the Velari forged a partnership unlike any other, a bond built not on power or conquest, but on shared purpose and mutual respect. Together, they worked tirelessly to safeguard the delicate balance of time, ensuring that no single moment could unravel the intricate web connecting countless civilizations. Alex had found his place in this new world, not as an outsider looking in, but as an integral part of something greater than himself. His role wasn't just about fixing broken timelines. It was about building bridges between species, fostering understanding where fear and mistrust once reigned. With Kale by his side, he trained others who, like him, possessed the unique ability to resonate with the temporal fabric. These recruits came from all walks of life: scientists, explorers, even ordinary individuals whose lives had been touched by the mysteries of time. Each brought their own strengths, adding depth and diversity to the coalition's mission. But for Alex, the most profound change lay in his relationship with Liria. What had begun as a reluctant alliance had blossomed into something deeper, a connection that transcended words and defied explanation. Though their backgrounds were worlds apart, they shared a common vision: a universe where hope outweighed despair, where cooperation triumphed over conflict. Together, they stood as symbols of unity, inspiring others to believe in the possibility of a better future. One evening, as the golden light of sunset bathed the crystalline cityscape, Alex and Liria walked along one of the shimmering pathways that wound through the heart of the Velari domain. Below them, rivers of liquid light flowed gently, carrying fragments of moments both past and present. It was a reminder of the infinite possibilities contained within the flow of time, and of the responsibility they bore to protect it. "You've done so much already," Liria said softly, breaking the comfortable silence between them. "Do you ever wonder what comes next?" Alex smiled, glancing at her. "All the time. But I think that's the point. We're always moving forward, always trying to make things better. There's no end goal, just the journey itself. Liria nodded thoughtfully. And yet, we must remain vigilant. The fractures may be healed, but the scars will linger. If we grow complacent, history could repeat itself. I know, Alex replied, his tone steady. But we're not alone anymore. We have each other, and everyone else who believes in this cause. As long as we keep working together, I think we'll be okay. Their conversation turned to the challenges ahead. Reports from distant sectors of the galaxy indicated anomalies cropping up in regions untouched by their efforts. While minor, these disturbances hinted at underlying instabilities that required attention. For Alex and Liria, it meant more missions into the temporal rift, more risks taken to preserve the fragile harmony they had fought so hard to restore. Yet, amidst the uncertainty, there were moments of joy and celebration. The coalition marked milestones with gatherings that brought humans and Vaylari together, sharing stories, music, and traditions. During one such event, Alex watched as children from both species played side by side, laughing and learning from each other without prejudice. It was a small yet powerful reminder of why their work mattered, not just for today, but for generations to come. As weeks turned into months, Alex began to see glimpses of a future he had once only dreamed of. Earth flourished under the guidance of the Coalition, its people inspired by the example set by those who dared to dream beyond borders. Meanwhile, the Vaylari embraced change, opening themselves to new ideas and perspectives brought by their human allies. Together, they created solutions to problems once thought insurmountable, proving that collaboration truly was the key to overcoming adversity. Still, Alex knew the road ahead would not always be smooth. New threats loomed on the horizon, forces determined to exploit the multiverse for their own gain. Yet with every challenge came an opportunity to strengthen their resolve, to prove that unity could overcome division. On a quiet night, as stars twinkled above the alien landscape, Alex stood beside Liria, gazing out at the endless expanse of space. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "All the time," Liria replied, her eyes reflecting the light of distant suns. "From the moment I first saw you on that desolate planet, I knew you were special. You carried the potential to change everything. And you did." Alex chuckled softly, shaking his head. "I didn't do it alone. None of this would have been possible without you, Kale, and everyone else who believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself." Liria placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch warm and reassuring. "That's what makes us strong, Alex. We lift each other up, even in the darkest times, and because of that, we can face whatever lies ahead." In that moment, Alex felt a profound sense of gratitude, not just for the life he had built, but for the journey that had led him here. From the crash of Odyssey Dawn to the trials of the temporal rift, every step had shaped him into the person he was now. He had faced fear, doubt, and sacrifice, but he had also discovered courage, hope, and love. Together, Alex and Liria turned their gaze toward the stars, ready to embrace whatever mysteries awaited them. They were guardians of tomorrow, protectors of a universe brimming with potential. And though the path ahead was uncertain, one thing was clear. As long as they stood united, anything was possible.